Think back to the last time you walked out of a store or finished an online checkout with an item you never actually intended to buy. You might write it off as a lapse in judgment, but you were likely pushed into that purchase by an invisible psychological trigger. Biologists call these fixed action patterns. They are hardwired, automatic responses to specific cues. Take a mother turkey, for example. She will lovingly care for a stuffed fake predator if it plays a recorded cheep cheep sound, and she will violently ignore or attack her own healthy chick if it stays silent. The sound alone commands her behavior. We humans have our own set of these primal shortcuts. Every day we face millions of environmental stimuli, far too much data for our brains to process from scratch. To survive without freezing up, we rely on specific cues to make snap decisions. These automated responses are crucial for getting through the day. But compliance professionals, like marketers and salespeople, know exactly how to activate these shortcuts, bypassing our critical thinking entirely to get us to automatically say yes. One of the strongest societal rules we follow is reciprocity. When someone gives us something, we feel deeply obligated to repay the favor, even if we never asked for the gift in the first place. Researchers tested this by having a man intentionally give a free, unsolicited bottle of Coca-Cola to strangers in an experiment. Later on, that same neutralized this trap by labeling the unsolicited sample as a calculated sales tactic. Reframing the gift as a strategy to create debt dissolves the social pressure to pay it back. We also have a deep psychological need to appear consistent. Once we take a public stand or make a choice, we feel compelled to align our future behavior with that initial action. Toy manufacturers regularly exploit this need. They heavily advertise a specific toy leading up to the holidays, but purposefully understock it in the store. Parents arrive, find the toy sold out, and end up buying a substitute to put under the tree. Then in January, the original toy reappears on shelves, and parents go back to buy it just to keep the promise they originally made to their kids. We desperately want to be seen as reliable and true to our word. Marketers bank on the fact that we will rationalize a completely unnecessary purchase just to uphold that social identity. When we aren't sure what to do, we look around and assume the group has the right answer. We copy others to quickly figure out acceptable behavior, a concept known as social proof. But relying entirely on group consensus leads to a dangerous phenomenon called pluralistic ignorance. In one tragic historical incident, a woman was attacked outside her home while 38 people watched from their windows. Because everyone saw that no one else was reacting, they all incorrectly assumed it wasn't an emergency.
If you ever find yourself needing help in a crowd, the worst thing you can do is shout a general plea into the void. You have to single out one specific person, say, you in the blue jacket, and tell them exactly what to do. You have to break the herd mentality manually. We are also highly vulnerable to the rule of liking. We instinctively lower our defenses for people who are physically attractive, people who share our interests, or people who offer us flattery. This is the exact mechanism behind Tupperware parties. The company realized that a pitch from a random salesperson is easy to reject, but by having a friend host the party in her own living room, the request to buy comes wrapped in an existing relationship, making the social cost of saying no incredibly uncomfortable. By engineering environments that mimic friendship and community, influencers effectively strip away the natural skepticism we usually reserve for strangers. Our society trains us from birth to obey authority figures. This conditioning is so ingrained that in clinical studies, ordinary people repeatedly administered what they believed were dangerous electrical shocks to a stranger, simply because a man in a lab coat told them to continue. The best defense against this kind of blind obedience is to pause and look past the outward symbols. Suits and impressive titles are incredibly easy to fake. Ask yourself if the person is a genuine expert in this specific field, and whether they stand to gain financially from your compliance. Finally, there is the principle of scarcity. When something appears to be limited in availability, whether it's a physical product or censored information, our desire for it artificially skyrockets. Property agents will deliberately schedule multiple buyers to view a house at the exact same time. Seeing a rival creates an emotional, panicked response. We stop evaluating the actual worth of the house and start fighting to win a competition. To counter this, you have to separate the thrill of possessing a rare item from its actual use.
A cookie doesn't taste any better or fill you up anymore just because it's the last one in the jar. Both authority and scarcity bypass our logic by tapping into primal, deeply rooted anxieties, the fear of being punished by the leader of the pack, and the panic of losing access to vital resources. These 6 principles operate quietly in the background of our daily interactions. They act as an underlying operating system for human behavior, one that can be used to build cooperative communities or to manipulate individuals. Because these triggers are practically hardwired into us, the only way to disable them is through active awareness. Once you recognize the setup, you give yourself the crucial second needed to pause the sequence before the yes slips out. Mastering these principles provides a vital mental shield. It transforms a knowledge of manipulation into the personal power to maintain control over your own choices.